Another week, another episode, another big potential market on Mad About Markets. Hi Ritu, how are you doing?
I'm good, Mangalam. So why don't we tell the viewers how we arrive at these markets that we're talking about?
Absolutely, because that is the question that we get asked very often. How is it that you all decide? Yes, we do. Well, at least I do. How is it that you all decide upon the topic? So I thought, might as well just, put it down on a piece of paper, or in this case, these graphics to just tell you what exactly are we looking at when we think of markets. The first thing that we look at is recent growth rate. Is it respectable, double digit or no? Secondly, has there been any underlying change in demand trends as a result of which there could be case for the unorganized market to shift into organized, and that's marked by a lot of entry of newer players. So as a result of all these things, growth in that market accelerates, and India's natural advantage is what we look at every time when we're thinking of deciding upon a topic to talk about a big potential market. So our thesis or metrics laid down threadbare for you.
Well, the secret's out, so let's get on with it. While we were going nuts thinking about these potential markets, we realized nuts itself is a potential market today. And now let's get you the good stuff. Now, India's dry fruit market was growing at a snappy 10 to 12% compounded growth rate, and this was before the pandemic. And Indian folks like you and me have now developed a taste for healthy snacking post the pandemic because we're all a lot more conscious, and guess what? Branded players are still less than 10% of the whole pie. So your Tata Consumer, Happilo, Open Secret, Tulsi, ITC, Reliance, DMart, they've all jumped into this game because they also realize the potential, and these players believe that they can grow not by 1 but by 2 to 3 times annually. Now that is some serious nutty ambition. India's love for dry fruits is really no joke. We are the second largest consumers of peanuts, almonds and cashews. We're also the third largest consumers of dried grapes and raisins, the fourth largest for dried figs, 6th for walnuts, and 7th as far as dates are concerned.
That's a whole lot of nuts that all of us consume. And
so much. I did not know.
And it's only raisin the bar. You get it? You get it? No, I'm sorry. All right. But up until now, if you just take a look at the way dry fruits was sold, it's not particularly the best way, because so far what we've seen is the market was largely unorganized, over 90%, and sourcing has been an issue, as a result of which both quality and hygiene have often been an unsolved mystery. Most of the sales have happened by local stores itself, and limited product options had consumers feeling a bit nuts. All you had were basic dry fruits itself. And to top it all, it's mostly driven by personal relations with customers. Everyone has their own dry fruit seller. But all of that is about to change. And that change is in the air, with organized, larger players coming in India's dry fruit market. In fact, we're not saying it. Sunil D'Souza of Tata Consumer emphasizes the market growth potential.
My annual run rate is about 40 to 50 crores, just online. And the big business for dry fruits is offline. I've just got to make sure I modify my packaging, my marketing mix, and make sure I provide the packages which the retailers want. We've just about started working with, we'll go to modern trade first and then to general trade. I would say doubling every year, tripling every year shouldn't be a challenge.
All right, doubling every year and tripling every year shouldn't be a challenge, said by Sunil D'Souza of Tata Consumer. So what are these forces which are propelling the growth path? One, we Indians have an insatiable love for snacking. Twice a day, or at least once a day. We're a nation of snackaholics. And we're just not any snackaholics, we're health-conscious snackaholics. We're always on the lookout for healthy options. You're looking at people, who are looking for healthy options, 41% of them as per a Mintel survey. And we look to satisfy our cravings across the board through these healthy options itself. In the metros and tier 1 cities, a staggering 57% of customers are looking to choose healthy snacking option. And even beyond, in tier 2 and beyond, there is a solid 35% people who are looking at healthy snacking. In fact, Tata Consumer, Happilo, Open Secret, Tulsi, ITC, Reliance, as well as DMart, all of them have now hopped onto this healthy snacking dry fruit bandwagon. It's like a race to crack the nuttiest success recipe.
We still love our samosas and jalebis, but yes, a lot of us are now trying to join this healthy bandwagon. On that note, let me invite on the show our guest, Deepika Bhan, who is the president of Packaged Foods, Tata Consumer Products, as well as Vikas Nahar, who is the founder and CEO of Happilo. Now, they are a health food brand which was founded in 2016 and is headquartered in Bengaluru. Deepika, let me start with you. When you decided to enter this dry fruit market, what were your thoughts? I mean, why enter something like this? How large do you think it could be?
We are really energized about the fact that this is another really large consumer category that is yet to be organized. We know that the dry fruit segment is quite large. 9,000 crores is really just the consumer market. The commercial market is much larger. Even that consumer market is largely unbranded. So the ability to be able to help the consumer in her purchase is really what energized us. We know that dry fruit is actually a pretty expensive purchase, right, for any consumer as one of the kitchen products that you buy. And for such a high involvement category, the ability of brands to really guide consumers exists. So that's what energized us.
All right, and let's go across to Vikas as well. Because of all the ideas you could have had in the startup world, again, why dry fruit market? Why do you decide that?
See, dry fruit is an age-old wisdom, right? That it's nutritious for the body and good for you. Only thing is the accessibility and the availability was a problem earlier, and also the affordability per se. And it was not focused, kind of very unorganized, and there's no branded player existed. So I thought every city has 2-3 dry fruit stores which are prominent dry fruit sellers. I thought there's no nationwide brand. So my aspiration was to build a nationwide dry fruit snack brand to fulfill the nation's nutrition needs and bring more convenience and affordability to the segment.
Well, you have both established and younger players eyeing this market. Deepika, can you throw some light on the economics of all of this? What are the margins you work with? What are the packagings like? The channels through which you sell, is it more online, more offline? Give us a sense.
I think, see, overall, like most large pantry or commodity categories, it's obviously, you've got to run really cost effective to make good margins. So that carries through even to dry fruit. But it's very clear that there are a few large segments. For example, almond is the largest segment. You are seeing newer categories like seeds now gradually come in as well. These categories talk to more leading edge consumers and therefore offer you a bit greater margin as well. In terms of the SKUs, most of the category is actually bought in reasonable bulk. So India as a country is still buying dry fruit more as bulk, and the on the go or the snacking, which we're all very used to seeing in international markets, is still to develop. So I think where the category is right now, it's still very core, as would be the case in a category that's still evolving into branded, because we spoke about the size a while earlier. We said it's about 9,000 crores, the consumer part. Of that, less than 15-20% is branded. So it currently operates as a very core category. We are beginning to see subcategories like, the lesser dry fruits like walnuts or seeds more so, as well as flavored start to kick in now. So I think we're at a very early stage in the category, and we will see it really evolve in the years to come.
Deepika, Vikas, just hang in there. We'll come back to you in just a bit, because we're talking about the digital wonders and the digital land that we're talking about.
And
e-commerce, Q-commerce, all
yes.
of that. Why should dry fruits, be sold only in your local kiranas?
Yeah, because we often don't buy a kilo of dry fruits at a time, right? You might just want to go to your kirana store and buy a handful of nuts here, a handful of nuts there.
There's so many nuts to choose from. But having said that, e-commerce, quick commerce, all of that has made branded dry fruit consumption pretty convenient. It comes to your house and in the pack sizes that you want as well. And why just a handful of nuts here and there separately? You just buy them all together, because there are so many products which are different now. You have healthy trail mixes, extremely tasty, standardization of quality throughout the year. They're GMO free, high protein, non-fried options, what have you. All these varieties taking the market by storm, and you have flavored nuts, etc. All of that as well. I mean,
well, some of us still like to make our own trail mixes, but be that as it may, the market that you're talking about, it's grown significantly. So let us talk numbers. In FY21, this market was valued at 22,000 crore rupees. But hold on to your almonds again, because by FY30, we're expecting it to reach all the way to 51,800 crore rupees. But Mangalam, let's also talk about the brand wagon of these dry fruit markets. Where do things stand?
We're speaking about the unorganized to branded shift, right?
As we always do.
22,000 crore market has just 5% of the branded component on it. That grows a lot faster. And as we look at it, by somewhere in the middle of this decade, it will become 8%. That's FY25. And by the end of this decade, by FY30, the branded component of the 52,000 crore market that you just spoke about would be 12%. So that's obviously growing a lot faster.
Well, this branded dry fruit market that we're talking about, it is expected to witness an impressive 18 to 20% compounded annual growth rate. And in an FY23 itself, we're looking at 1,500 crore rupees. But by FY30, it could reach a cracking 6,200 crore rupees.
6,000 crore rupees. That's some number. In fact, more than 12%, or rather around 11 to 12% of the overall organized market that you spoke about.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are entering this space as well. Let's go back to Deepika. Deepika, it is a competitive space. How does a company like yours navigate through this? You're just one of them. We have Happilo, a large number of other players looking at it too.
I think what I've learned is in categories that are trying to do consumer habit shifts, it's good if there's more players in and we're trying to help the consumer switch over to branded. So I think it's a really large opportunity. There's enough market for everybody. I think ultimately in any FMCG product, it comes down to how well you can ensure that you build the brand. And I think that Tata Sampann is quite well placed owing to the Tata brand and the large play that we have in our staples business with the consumer familiarity. So really to operate in categories where the consumer needs a reassurance on trust and quality gives us a very natural edge. See, we must remember that at the end of the day, why do you eat a dry fruit? Right? A dry fruit is, you don't buy it because almonds are tasty. You buy a dry fruit because it's fundamentally a health purchase. It's a wellness purchase. And so therefore the quality of the product is above all. And we do have a natural edge, both in terms of the brand appeal, that we will not compromise on our quality, and also in terms of the real delivered product experience. It takes a lot of effort. If you were to ask me about challenges, one of our biggest challenges is to ensure that we give the right consistent quality of product through the year to the consumer.
But, Vikas, in a market where you have the likes of Deepika, people with deep pockets, Tatas in the business as well, for young companies like you, how much do you have to spend annually on brand building?
We close to spend $6 to $7 million on brand building because the category itself is very unorganized and there's no brand per se. So we have that advantage of being that first brand to build it larger than life, and not only be a player which is prominent for the region. We honestly want to be prominent for every season across the nation, and now we have aspiration to build it across the world.
And we see that on all the advertisements that you do and the jersey that you're wearing as well, Vikas. But Deepika, what's Tata Consumer's numbers been on this space like? Sunil D'Souza earlier said the annual run rate was around 50 crores, looking to double, triple over the next couple of years. What are the latest numbers here?
We are seeing really explosive growth in the segment. We don't talk as much in percentage growth, more that can we get a multiple on our current business. Remember that we are currently present only at the top end. So we currently play largely in e-commerce, and we're just about starting a bit of a pilot to see how the MVP sticks in general trade. So I think that, the opportunity is immense. We're seeing very healthy growths, but it's not where we are now. It's that it's a really large category. So I would look at a multiplier.
Well, the opportunity is immense. But Vikas, for you, what is the current run rate and how are you expecting growth going forward for the business?
We are at an ARR of, say, 500 crores currently, and we want to build it to 2,000 crores in the next 12 to 18 months.
Wow, from 500 crores to 2,000 crores in the next 12 to 18 months. Vikas, I'm tempted to ask, are you profitable? I mean, what's the sales mix for you? How much of that comes from retail and institution?
See, we are profitable at the CM2 level, except the ATLs, what we do for brand building, maybe taking the likes of Kiara, Siddharth, and doing a lot of TV advertisements, and or spending on IPL in terms of sponsorship on RCB or Rajasthan Royals. Other than that, we are actually a very profitable company at the product level, at the CM1, CM2 level. Except the ATL part of it. And other than that, I think if you talk about the institution mix, it's largely, we are e-commerce company first. So we built our company largely on e-commerce initially. Then we expanded to the modern trades and the general trades of the world. So a lot of business comes from general trade, modern trade, and but still e-commerce is a dominant category in terms of percentage.
It's a good time to take a small little snack break. Come back on the other side. We discuss the nuts and bolts of India's dry fruit industry.
And as always, we're going to ask the bigger question, and that is the dry fruit industry crunchy enough just yet? That and more when we return.
Welcome back. You're watching us here on Mad About Markets. We're discussing India's dry fruit market. Now, time to discuss the growth accelerators and challenges, as we call it, the yays and the mays.
And the nuts and the bolts, like you said.
And the nuts and the bolts. So let's start with the yays. The biggest yay, of course, is that it's a healthy snacking option, and now people are accepting branded dry fruit as a product in the market, as against earlier they would question all these things.
You know, as much as we like it and we want to eat it, it's not the cheapest option available when you talk about snacking. We still love our chips and everything else.
Yeah,
Easily accessible.
That's true, but that's where the branded players and the large organized players help, because once they have economies of scale, they source and take care of all these things, the costs will eventually start coming down.
Well, one hopes so, but the sourcing challenges remain for the dry fruit industry, and that is one of the maze.
Yeah, it's largely import dependent, but then again, there is an increasing demand for standard quality as well. So these large players will tie up with these suppliers and have standard quality throughout the year, as against your local guys who might not give you the best quality throughout the season.
This packaged dry fruit that you're talking about, often you compromise on the nutritional value, because those trail mixes you were harping on about earlier, sometimes they're added with sugars and processed things, so it may not be the healthiest anymore.
But the nutritional value is written on the packages. So those who are reading and are health conscious, of course, can read that and make those choices for themselves.
But I can eat a bag of chips, but I can't really do the same with dry fruit. So it's not easiest to eat it. It's not the healthiest if you binge on it.
Well, I see that, but the opportunity to penetrate beyond e-commerce and quick commerce. Right now, when you're talking about, calling for these things conveniently, imagine if packs of dry fruit at 5 rupees, 10 rupees or 15 rupees available at every pawn shop in the country. Sachetization, or maybe, packing that nut in a
But it still remains very difficult to build trust in this industry given the legacy relationships with sellers. So that is one of the bigger mazes that we're talking about for the dry fruit market.
But then you have stronger brands as well. We'll talk about that. But Deepika, how do you break the current framework of this dry fruit purchase sales? Legacy sellers still sell through relationships.
No, absolutely. I think that is exactly the challenge, right? You're looking at a really expensive purchase. There is an existing habit to buy, but you would be surprised to know that consumers actually don't understand a lot of the sub-variants and the sub-segments, right? Even if you take something like, let's say, Californian almond, there are like 19-20 varieties. When consumers are transacting day on day with these legacy relationships, it's not always that they're getting the same quality product all the time. So to give them the assurance, especially on such an expensive purchase, is what brands can do, because we hold our quality standards to the highest. So the Tata Sampann brand is actually very well placed to assure the consumers that it's a high quality product. And I think that we've learned over time, this is not the first category that we've gotten into. We've learned over time that assurance that comes about unwavering quality, we say our dry fruits are hand-picked, is what's actually helping consumers lean in quite comfortably on the brand. So ultimately, in any category, the quality of the product is the real truth. And offering that consistently to consumers is what's helping us.
Well, Vikas, what is the end game here for Happilo? And, dry fruit itself, is that going to be the focus, or are you going to go larger all the way up in your product portfolio and look at more snacking options?
See, we have completed 6 years now. In the first 4 years, we're largely focusing on dry fruits and trail mixes as the category itself. But now we are largely expanded using dry fruits as a primary ingredient. We have launched India's first dry fruit bar, which is completely made of dry fruits and nuts with no added sugar, no preservatives, and comes with the goodness of no gluten, no cholesterol, trans fat free, and all those things. So it's not only about what we're trying to build in terms of dry fruits. For us, we want to make Indians eat more dry fruits, either directly or indirectly, as an ingredient, as a whole product, as a part of some recipe. In fact, we are about to launch our dry fruit muesli, which again is loaded with around 50-60% nuts into it. So, for example, whatever we do, we have recently launched a Kaju Katli spread, again, what Natala did with hazelnut. We actually trying to do with cashews to promote the Indian cashews, for that matter. So it's very tasty. Again, whatever product we try to do, we focus a lot on taste, health, and most importantly, we want to hold on to that positioning of dry fruits and keep dry fruit as a key ingredient. So we will also expand to a lot of snacking products. But again, dry fruit will always be a key ingredient in all those products what we do.
Kaju Katli spread, that'll be interesting. He's trying to do that. But Vikas, IPO on the cards, or are you looking to sell to a strategic?
No, I think it's my dream that when I started the company, I always aspired to build something big. God has been very kind. So I think the journey going forward will be to do an IPO maybe 2-3 years down the line. And we have the likes of A91 and Motilal Oswal backing us, people who are experts on doing IPOs. So hopefully that can also help us scale that faster. But I think 2-3 years down the line, we look at IPO when we scale to a bigger number and do better. I think we just started.
All right, so we'll wait to see how that plays out. But Deepika, sourcing, that's also very import dependent for dry fruit players. Do you see that as one of the key risks?
I don't think in this day and age you can say that anything import is a risk, because it's the order of things for most categories that we operate in. We are definitely, there's just global linkages. So I don't see it really as a risk any more than any of the other categories we operate in. So you're right. For almonds, for example, the big source exists internationally. But I think that there's a lot of ability to predict, the crop patterns, cycles. There is a reasonable interface available in terms of importers into the country. So it's manageable.
Right, that brings us to the bigger question. Is it time to go nuts about India's dry fruit industry, or is it still not crunchy enough? Well, Deepika, why don't you go first?
Look, I am really bullish. Everybody around me is getting really healthy. I think if you look at the rising awareness for health and wellness, and not to miss the fact that incomes are rising, disposable incomes are rising. So I think people have the ability to buy dry fruit. And dry fruit is not a new habit for India. It exists in our culture. We all grew up with 4 almonds in the morning. So I think that the category and its importance exists in our culture. So I think if we can organize this for consumers and spread the awareness, it's time to go nuts about dry fruit.
Time to go nuts. Vikas, you have the final word. Are you nuts about India's dry fruit market?
It'll take time. I can't say that everybody can participate right now, but everybody, I think, is contributing in their own way. The dry fruit has been there. As I told you, it's an age-old wisdom. It's being sold from centuries. People are eating it as a part of their healthy diet and nutrition. Affordability was a problem in India, and availability was one more challenge, because India was such a fragmented market earlier. And now with GST, food safety, and a lot of standardization across the market, standard MRPs, standard tax structures are making it actually more meaningful to actually do a lot of sales and distribution span India and penetrate the network. But I think, it still take time. A lot of awareness has to be built. Still, people have that habit of buying through a loose quantity or something like that. But things will change today with the COVID. I think that there's a rapid change in terms of how people want to consume. People want to buy branded stuff, because for at Happilo, people trust that everything is untouched by hand, stands for quality, stands for hygiene, comes from a reputed house as well. So overall, it's a lot of things have to work together. It's not that just today somebody decides and tomorrow they can do. We also took like 6-7 years to reach where we are today, and it'll take time, but eventually the category will grow and a lot of players will also come, and we also have to innovate in terms of product, in terms of pricing, in terms of how to package it, what kind of R&D we can build, and what kind of sourcing capabilities we can add, and how deeper we can integrate in terms of technology, product, and the placements.
It's after a long time that we have divergent views on the bigger question, right? And both of the players are from the industry. One thinks it's time to go nuts, and the other thinks it's not time yet.
The other one perhaps wants no other competition coming in, and which is why that's happened. But on that note, we'll thank both Vikas and Deepika for taking the time out and explaining to us the nuts and bolts of India's dry fruit market. With that, we wrap.
We wrap up this edition of Man About Markets, but we'll see you same time next week.
Keep munching.